All right. All right, here we go. The Hangout is live. All right, going to the top of the show. And welcome back to another episode of This Week in Photo. I'm your host, Frederick Van Johnson. We've got a really interesting show for you guys today. We're right on the heels of the 2015 Photoplus Expo in New York City that I did not go to, unfortunately. I don't know if did either of you guys go there? Yeah. So we're going to be people that didn't go, pontificating about things that happened with the cool New Yorkers, the people that did go to the expo. So, but before we do that, let's welcome our two guests, Mr. Dan Ablin and Mr. Don Komarechka. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, Frederick.
Hello, Frederick. How are you?
Always a pleasure. Hey, I hear, Mr. Dan Ablin, that I don't want to rub it in, but I've got family in Chicago. I was talking to them yesterday. They were complaining about how not nice the weather is there right now.
No, it's gorgeous right now.
Seriously? In Chicago?
I mean, it got a little rainy this weekend, but it's like 50, 60 degrees, fall weather. It's great.
That does sound great. Yeah, they were complaining. I think they were complaining because they're trying to get me to invite them to California. Maybe
well, it's definitely nicer in California, but it's starting to get damp and a little rainy, and another month it's just... Yeah, it's going to be nasty for a few months, but
enjoy it while it lasts.
It's chilly weather, yeah.
Yeah. So before we dive in, Dan, what have you been up to? Last time we talked was a couple weeks ago, about a month ago or so, and you had some changes that happened. What's been going on?
Yeah, I've been just doing a few different shoots. Did some high school senior shoots, rebuilding my website. I've been doing some projects for clients, doing some 3D animations, and talking with some companies about some other things, which hopefully will be happening soon.
Cool. I love those mysterious, I'm talking to somebody that I can't tell you about something that I cannot disclose. That's going to happen at a time that I cannot reveal.
It's not necessarily NDA, but it's just jinxing it. More so,
I hear you. Well, good. Well, welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Always good to have you on. Also, is Mr. Don Komarechka up there in the north there? How's the weather up in Canada?
Not too bad, although there is a weather advisory coming in. We're going to be getting a pretty big rainstorm coming through here in the next couple of days. And the temperatures are dropping. We're getting closer and closer to the freezing point. We've dipped below that a couple of times already. So
cool. See, rain, we don't know what that is in California. So if you want to kind of divert that down to us,
I wish I had the power to do that. Although I hear you had a couple of freak storms in there, but not nearly enough to squash the drought.
We had just enough to cause, like flash floods, and then it goes away, because the water is like, hey, what's this weird stuff? I don't want that, It's just, then all havoc breaks loose, and now we're dry again. So yeah, we need some water over here. So
good accent.
You like that? That was my was that New York or?
That was all New York.
It was New York. It's New York. I can't do it. Well, Chicago is Chicago. Yeah.
Oh no, Chicago's different.
You're doing Chicago. Can you do Chicago?
That's a little more. We're gonna get a couple of couple of beefs, Polish sausage.
That's classic. My Canadian accent consists of A. That's it. That's my Canadian. If I say A, that's Canadian, right?
Oh, there you go, eh? We're a nice bunch of people up here.
Here you go. Perfect. We don't even lock our doors, eh? All right, guys. All right, enough of that. Let's dive into story number one, Photoplus Expo. So Derek Story, who's a regular TWiP contributor and also an upcoming host on the network, he contributed to an article at CT Digital University so basically we'll put a link to that. You can go check out like the big roundup. But some of the highlights of the announcements coming out of New York this year at this PhotoPlus was Canon announcing two new enthusiast compact cameras, the GX5 and the G9X. I love the G9 series with 1-inch sensors. They also added, let's see, what is this? A Pro 1000 printer, the Image ProGraph Pro 1000 printer to their lineup. Sony announced the RX1R2 with a 42 megapixel sensor and an EVF. And Leica introduced a new full-frame mirrorless system with the SL601, and Pocket Wizard unveiled the Plus 4 transceiver with an integrated hot shoe. So that's like a tip of the iceberg of what happened out there. If you've ever been to PhotoPlus, it's just anarchy. It's just craziness with new announcements from every single booth. These are just like, literally the tip of the iceberg. Don Komaretska, from your standpoint, what did you see happening out there?
Well, I like the new cameras from Canon. They again, I think we talked right before we started recording that I like the edgy design that is coming into a lot of cameras these days. I don't know what that aesthetic is, but it really hits home with me. Although I'm really questioning the marketplace for those particular cameras. They're going to be around the $500 to $700 range as far as a camera goes. But at that point, I mean, aren't you going to be spending that money onto an entry-level digital SLR system or a mirrorless system where you can change lenses? Yeah. There is a market for this. Fuji has cameras in this space as well, and so does Canon. It is the last vestige of the compact camera.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. But the compact camera, I look at these and I think, okay, if you look at it purely from the standpoint of dollars spent alone, you're like, of course, I could take that money and buy this different form factor system and all that. But if you just need a small camera that's awesome, that's really capable, that you can just throw into your purse or your backpack or whatever, then you really, you can't really beat that kind of thing.
Oh, exactly. But then you see Sony coming out with a camera at sort of almost the same physical size, but with a much larger sensor. 42 megapixels. That's the RX1R2. But of course, the price difference is astronomical. I mean, that's well above $3,000 for that particular camera. So, I mean, yes, there is a place for this particular product. It's a 20 megapixel camera with a 1-inch sensor size, and various lens options for you to go back and forth with. One has a viewfinder. And the digital viewfinders that they have on these things, I mean, looking at it on paper, it looks fantastic. I mean, it looks like there's a lot that's crammed into this particular camera. Would it be a camera that I buy, though? That's really the question that it comes down to. And it is right in a weird space for me that I don't think that that there is a problem that it would solve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have thoughts on that. Hey, Dan Ablin, I muted you because I was getting a little noise. So unmute yourself, and I want to have you chime in on this.
Yeah, sorry about that. I brought these down for this, and I agree with everything Don said too, because I still like my big D3, my big Nikon. I like the big lenses. There's just something about the quality of that. And my biggest thing with the compacts has always been the optics. They keep increasing megapixels and speed and all these other things, but it's always the optics. There's just something a little different. But I was a big fan of it years ago because I still have, this is a Leica Deluxe 3. I think it's about 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I carry this around with me because it was actually, I'm pretty sure this was a full-frame camera, and it was one of the first compacts to actually shoot manual, do aperture priority, shutter priority. But the optics weren't that good, and at the end of the day, it still looked like a point and shoot.
Yeah.
Last year, based on Derek Story's recommendation, this one is fantastic. This is,
It's got to be an Olympus.
No, it's a 3000, the Samsung.
Oh.
This is a $400 camera.
Oh, look at that thing. Yeah.
Came with a little pop-up flash. Let's see if it was there. Right? And you can change lenses. So I would take it off, but you can change lenses. I carry this in my laptop bag every day.
And for the listeners, come check out the video on YouTube or on our site. You can see the camera there.
And it's got your thing that you like. See, it's got
that articulated lens. I do like that, especially the ones, the articulated LCD, the ones that flip up forward, specifically so that, like, if you're doing video, like YouTube videos of yourself.
It's actually for a selfie, believe it or not.
Well, I would assume it can do video as well, right?
Yeah, but as soon as you flip it, it turns it on, puts it in selfie mode, so you can just take a quick shot, which I never do.
Yeah, Sony has a couple cameras that do that as well.
And it's got a nice little retro kind of brown finish. There was a couple of different finishes, but
you know what I argue? I want to get you guys to chime in on this because maybe 3 or 4 years ago, at least for me personally, and I want to see what you guys say. 3 or 4 years ago, for me personally, a smaller pocketable camera all-in-one like that made a lot of sense. Because like you're saying, I don't want to bring my big DSLR with me, and I still want to be able to capture decent photos that are better than what you'd get with something less capable. But then something weird happened. I made the switch to Micro Four Thirds, obviously, so my cameras generally are smaller. So I have small cameras that I can take and put small lenses on, and they're essentially that form factor, or even smaller in the case of the GM5. But what I've really found myself doing is not even that. It's more of, if I'm going to shoot, like, serious quote photography, I'm going to bring my full system.
Hmm.
If I'm not going to shoot that, I'm bringing my iPhone with me, and that's
Exactly.
generally what I shoot with. It's either that one or that one. Yeah, it's
That's
yeah.
that's why I just got the 128 gig, the 6S, and
Yeah, that's exactly what I got, and I'm like, when, and I'm probably answering my own question, but is that market like just gone? I know I've read reports that the iPhone and the smartphone camera market, Android included, are just kind of eating away at that all-in-one point-and-shoot market, at least here in the U.S. But I want to get your guys' opinion. Am I unique in this thinking?
I think that you are echoing the sentiment across the industry, Frederick, where we have the smartphones, any phone, regardless of the tech involved in that, that is the camera in your pocket now, right? That has replaced the portable, smaller compact cameras. They really don't exist anymore in any meaningful numbers. And on the other end, the Micro Four Thirds are eating into it from the other side, right? So now, when you have the option of a really bad cell phone or a digital SLR, there are options that are eating in closer and closer into this range, and it's it's another nail in the coffin.
Yeah, yeah, because I find myself just wanting to get. I don't know, like when I was in the Air Force, it was cool because we had these awesome low pro bags we had like 5, 7, 8 lenses in there to cover every possible situation, and strobes and extra batteries and film and all this stuff. And it's like you pick that thing up and you're like, okay, I can handle anything that the world throws at me. And you fast forward to 2015, and I'm like, I want as little as possible, but I still demand that kind of flexibility and even higher quality than I thought was amazing back then. Dan, do you feel the same way? I mean, is it?
yeah.
What do you
Yeah,
think?
absolutely. I think if you guys go out, you're at a restaurant somewhere. Have
Mhm.
you seen anybody in any group anywhere, a tourist, anything, with a little Canon Sure Shot or anything like that? I can't remember the last time I saw one other than sitting in my drawer upstairs.
Right.
And that's why I think all these manufacturers are making $2,000 and $3,000 compact cameras with all this meat inside it, just because they're coming after our market, figuring, hey, you know what? We're the ones who are going to want the quality. Everybody else is fine with cell phone quality, which is really very good, but we want a little bit more. We want some of the optics. We want a little more control. So let's put that in a compact camera. I think that's really what's happening.
I wonder if it's even more nefarious than that. I wonder if it's kind of like the AOL effect. Right? So
The what?
AOL,
Wait, wait. I kind of remember that.
exactly, America Online. You've got mail. Right? There's still to this day a lot of people that pay their monthly subscription fee for
Yeah.
AOL that don't know that they're really paying for nothing.
Right.
So they're end of lifing that market, and they're just going to ride the wave out until they're down to the last person that's doing that. So I wonder if something similar is going on in this point and shoot market, where they're like, okay, we know the space is dying. The cell phones are highly capable and can do everything this thing can do and more because it's a connected device. But there's still people that just don't know that, or still believe that these little purpose-built cameras do a better job than the thing in their pocket already. So let's capitalize on that while we can, marketers, and add some features and draw them in to buy it until everyone wises up.
Like
I
this,
don't know.
this Samsung actually, it has Wi-Fi capability. It'll instantly upload to your phone, or you can get other Wi-Fi connections to it.
Yeah. But my cell phone has Wi-Fi capability too.
That's the thing. It's like, do I use that? No.
Well, and the interesting thing about this is you've got a problem, because these cameras, at least the Canon ones that are priced into the multiple hundreds, the Sonys that are priced into the multiple thousands, these are not an uninformed purchasable item. Like, you don't just walk into a store and accidentally buy one of these cameras with your groceries. I mean, you have to be very deliberate in that purchase, and at that price point, I mean, within that range, you could get the best cell phone out there. I mean, on the Android system for where the Canon ones are priced, and I don't think any cell phone will cost you what that Sony camera costs.
True.
Right.
And so, it's all about the camera that you want to take with you. And I think it just boils down to that. A lot of people are okay with the cell phone in their pocket, and those cameras are getting better and better. And if you want to have the control, then the people that want to have the control want something to hold on to. They want something maybe a little bit bigger. Not saying that it has to be big and bulky, but that it has to do everything under the sun with no compromises. And they're willing to pay for that.
Yeah, yeah, and I wonder, like, these features. in these cameras. I mean, and mirrorless included. There's a ton of features in the cameras that I own that I lust after. I'm like, okay, this thing can do panorama. It can do, 4K video. I can do 4K photo. All these awesome features. But to be honest, over the past year, I find myself when I get these new cameras, I'll play with those new interesting features. Even the 4K video, I find myself now just shooting 1080 because 4K, I don't
What are you
need
gonna do
all
with
that.
it?
Yeah, I don't. It's not that I understand I can punch in and do all this cool stuff with it, and I love 4K, the quality of it that I get that I can do with my cameras. But I find myself shooting 1080 instead of 4K because Premiere or Final Cut can crunch through it faster. It's just a faster edit, especially if it's just going to YouTube anyway. It's going to be 1080 or 720. So the 4K is like, okay, I got this camera because it's got 4K on it and it's got all this other stuff. But really, I'm using the 1080 video and I'm just shooting normal aperture priority mode all the time.
Yeah, and if you think about like the new Canon cameras that were announced, they have some special modes for astrophotography and for improving the production of a star trail image and reducing the gaps in between the images overall. And that's all well and good, but the person that's going to be trying to do that sort of stuff probably already has some other camera gear at their disposal already. And to be honest, to put that kind of thing together in Photoshop is so trivial. It's like 2 buttons to combine a bunch of images together and change their blending mode. And so, yeah, Canon is trying to attack this with everything that it has, but I mean, it's a sinking ship. And I think, though, that Sony has the approach where with their cameras, if you're charging, $3,000 plus for one of these cameras, you're getting into a completely other market. You're becoming the second camera in a professional photographer's bag,
Right.
and so people might rely on that for behind the scenes footage. They know it's a full frame sensor. The ISO performance is far better for low light, et cetera, et cetera. It's mimicking a lot of the feel and functionality of their main camera. And then if you're traveling, if you want to go light, then you now have this extra little piece of gear that you can take along with you. But I think that the people looking to spend between $500 and $700 on a camera, they'd rather buy a cell phone for that money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you say that because I've mentioned on the show before that I'm going on a trip to Vietnam next month, right? So the part of that exercise, there's a lot of things involved, obviously, in that exercise. But one of them is getting my camera bag ready. So I'll tell you which new camera I bought that just came today, a little bit later on the show. So I got that. I got a new camera bag, the everyday messenger that all this stuff is going into.
Great one.
But one of the interesting things is like I was saying before, packing for this trip 10 years ago would have meant a lot of stuff. It would have changed the dynamics of weight and everything for the flight. This time, it's a small bag with literally 2 small mirrorless cameras and maybe 3 lenses. A couple of them are like right here. Maybe 3 lenses that are about this size.
Changing 6 pounds of camera gear down to about 6 pounds, right?
Yeah, or less. Yeah, and that's including, well, maybe not including, but on top of that will be a little 13-inch MacBook Pro and an iPad Mini. And all that in one small bag, and that's what goes with me. That's a radical change, and I think about that stuff, and you kind of overlay that with where things were and where they are today, and things change a little bit. I'm interested here. So Dan, like you're a day in the life of Dan Ablin. When you're out, you grab. Yeah, that's a book title. You grab your bag. What's in that bag?
It really depends on the day. For a few years we were donating, and we still do, for our daughter's school for the play. She's in drama and theater, so we'll donate all the portraits. We'll take portraits of all the tech and the kids and the actors. And I would bring the D3 or the D600, bring portrait lights, everything else. We are actually doing it this week with that Samsung because that's how good it is. Yeah, and however, when I do the shots of the kids in rehearsal that they're going to put up on this, and they've got all the stage lights on, everything else. I got the 70-200 2.8. I got the D3 or the D600.
Yeah.
It's just fast. It's the low light. I can get in close, and even if I had a long lens on there, it just wouldn't be. None of these, to me, yet these little cameras have quite that speed to shoot plays on stage and things like that.
Except for that Sony A7S series.
My a friend of mine, Mr. Brad Glansrock, I'll call him out. We've done some work together. Huge Sony fan, and Brad's actually gone out on some shoots for me, some videos I've done. I am absolutely amazed at the video quality coming out of that thing, of those A
Hmm.
series. They're really, really amazing. So, you know, years ago I had to bring. This is more ego thing, but you know, you get all the moms and dads little shoots at the plays and things. I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, excuse me, and I had to take out the, you know, I don't care anymore. Now it's just, it's actually kind of fun to have that much power in a little camera. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
will
yeah,
I?
and I think the world is wising up too. You know, back then it was wow, you that look at that giant camera, you must be amazing.
Ugh,
Now I think people know that their cell phones can do some crazy stuff if you
right,
use them properly. So it's almost a
right.
detractor, in my opinion. It's
Yeah.
becoming a detractor that you still shoot with that kind of stuff,
Right.
really?
And then 3 years ago we went to Italy. There's
Yeah.
no way I'd ever just rely on a little point and shoot to take advantage of that trip.
Yeah.
That was, but I couldn't bring all that gear. So I made the choice. It was a 24 to 72.8 and a D600 with no grip or battery pack.
Yeah.
That was as light as I could go with the most quality, and I don't regret it at all. It was perfect. Perfect
Yeah.
setup for it.
I'm
So,
gonna do a video of what's in my bag this week and kind of show the new camera bag and all the stuff and how I've got it laid out. Not because I want to brag, but more because I want to get input from people on what I should and shouldn't be taking with me on this trip.
lots of memory cards.
You know what? We're gonna talk about that in just a
Yeah.
little bit.
And
Don
no,
Kovarenchka.
and here's what I did too for the trip because I didn't know what I could buy out there. And I used to do this when I shot for CBS when I got out of college. I would do it with the batteries, and I always started this process, and I would number them. So for my memory cards, when now I had 12 of them, it was just ABC or 1, 2, 3. I'd
Yeah.
always start in the beginning, and number 1, number 2. If I'm on number 4, I know 1, 2, and 3 are done. You're in the middle of something's happening. You got to change that card. You're like, which one's free? I don't want to record over that. You just go in sequence. So when you know when number 10, you're like, ugh, I'm out. But this way, I don't have to delete the cards.
Memory cards are so cheap. I was looking
Right.
online at 32 gigabyte SanDisk
Don't buy them that
Extreme.
big.
Don't buy 32.
No, there's a couple of theories where number one is you should buy 4 gigs because they're significantly cheaper, and a 4 gig will fit on a DVD. So one card, one backup. for
But you know
DVD
that
ROM.
logic is sound, except when you're talking about shooting video.
Of
And
course.
lots of video. Then it
Then you
fails.
go with a camera like a D600 that's got 2 slots, and you buy the huge ass card like I did for that one slot, and all my video went to that card, and all my stills went to the smaller cards.
But
I did 8
what if I just get? So I'm going away for about 10 days. What if I buy 10, 32, or even 16 gigabyte cards and just say one per day, no matter what?
That's good. And the other theory too is that, God forbid you lose one, it crashes. You've lost 32 gigs of images. If I
Yeah.
do 4 or 8 gigs, okay, I'm not losing as much.
Yeah,
So,
eggs in one basket.
I put all of my eggs in one basket for another reason. I trust the memory cards. I spent a lot of money on the best memory cards that I could buy, and if it were to fail, well, it's more likely that the mechanical features inside of my camera are to fail than the memory card is to fail. But my main contention here with that is the memory card safest place is inside my camera because I'm clumsy. I'm
point.
going to lose
Good point.
things. I'm going to, maybe I put it in my pocket. That pocket goes in the jeans go in the washing machine or what have you, that could damage the card. The safest place for the memory card is inside the camera, unless your camera gets stolen, of course.
Yeah.
But chances are you're guarding that quite carefully. So I've got big cards. I got 128 and 256 gig
Wow.
memory cards.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
And I use that for when I'm around here and I'm shooting stuff in really, really rapid succession. I've filled up 256 gigs in a day when I'm photographing snowflakes or macro water droplets, and I'm taking hundreds of pictures of exactly the same thing. But the point is, when I'm traveling, that card never leaves the camera, and that camera never leaves my side. And I am putting my eggs in one basket to say, yes, I am trusting that memory card to perform. For name brand cards, I have never been let down.
I haven't either.
Now, for off-brand stuff, I've had some horror stories being told to me. So, be very careful about what memory cards you trust.
And I'll say this too: if you have a camera with dual slots, get 2 big cards and shoot to both.
Yeah,
Mm.
those
One
cameras can
automatic
usually let
backup.
you fire both.
Yeah.
One is a backup duplicate.
Yeah, I've
of
done
the
that too.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue the discussion about memory cards. There's some interesting
Good
breaking
segue.
news that happened recently, and we're going to talk about. So, what's the word I want to say? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Stay
We
tuned.
don't tune. Nobody tunes in anymore.
I know, right?
Stay
Sit
dialed.
tight, stay tuned, relax, converse. All right, here we go. All right, guys, we are back. Okay, let's dive into this next story, which is kind of a continuation of the last story, and this one's about memory cards. Don Komarechka, you brought this to my attention just before the show. I'm embarrassed that I didn't know about it. What happened?
Well, SanDisk was bought by Western Digital. I mean, this is huge news, and for not a small amount of money. I mean, SanDisk on its own is a huge company. So the going rate, $19 billion.
19. I don't even. My brain can't even wrap itself around billions of dollars. You know, millions a little bit, kind of, but billions, like $19 billion. Wow, that's insane. So what does this mean? Do you think? I mean, Western Digital is a company that I trust. I've got their drives all over the place. So
Yeah, I use Western Digital drives as well,
Yeah.
and I think that they needed. I think the writing is on the wall for hard drives. I think that as you can get 6 and even 8, and I'm sure that in some enterprise fashions you can get up to 10 terabyte hard drives right now. But that technology, they are really trying to reinvent physics to cram more data onto spinning magnetic platters. Whereas when you just make the process technology of transistors smaller, then you double the amount of space. I mean, it's a faster growing medium, and so you can get 1, 2, even 4 terabyte hard drives or SSDs, solid state disks, for a computer. And yeah, the bigger capacities will cost you more than a very expensive camera right now, but that's it. I mean, it's just silicon. You know,
And it always goes down.
It always goes down. It always gets cheaper. So, looking 5, 10 years from now, the hard drive space will be non-existent. So I think it was a really smart move for Western Digital to invest in a company like SanDisk, SanDisk has been producing not only memory cards, as we're very familiar with them, but SSDs, and they've been building their brand around that. So if they can take that infrastructure of these solid-state disks using, I think they've got a partnership with Toshiba to produce their flash memory. And so if they have that funneled into Western Digital stays that reliable and relevant partner in storage. And Western Digital has never touched memory cards, though, which is the interesting part of this. So I hope, I mean, they're paying a lot for the business, and I'm sure SanDisk, for a good chunk of their business, is with memory cards, that the quality will stay exactly as we expect it to be, and maybe even a little bit better, depending on where Western Digital wants to take that particular market. There's lots of advancements to happen in memory cards in the near future as well. The CFast format, it hasn't gotten legs yet, but it might in the near future, because compact flash is kind of winding down, and SSD cards.
I'm not familiar with that. CPast.
CFast, as in very speedy, so CFast is a format that I think the Nikon D4, if I'm not mistaken, has a CFast memory card slot and another slot as well. Now this is the successor to compact flash, because compact flash is a really old tech. It uses the IDE communications of hard drives way back in the day, before we translated that to SATA drives. Yeah. And so the maximum throughput that you could do for that was always limited, and they've really hit the ceiling with that. So in order to improve that technology, it's funny because you could actually take a really old computer that has the IDE hard drive port, and with a little adapter that just changes the pin sizes, plug a compact flash card into it, and it reads just fine like it's a hard drive. It's the exact same protocol. So it's ancient. That technology is so old.
You hear that, Dan? That's what you're rocking in your cameras.
I know. And I got a drawer full of them.
And so the newer technology, of course, CFast, will be the exact same physical size as a compact flash card, but be using a lot newer technology. And I expect Canon to have that with their next flagship camera in the 1D series. It hasn't caught on across the market, but what I'm saying is the market is continuing to evolve. All of the old stuff is falling away, and if you don't stay on top of this, then you're left in the dust. You're
left in the dust. Yeah, I want to and check this out. I'm going to screen share with you guys for a second. So look at this. So this is me shopping earlier, looking for SD cards to take on this trip. Look at this. This is a 32 gigabyte SanDisk Extreme Pro 95. This is a UH3 Class 10 card, which is great for recording 4K video to 32 gigs for $26.
Yeah, far less than $1 a gigabyte. I mean, it's ridiculous.
You know, and when I went to look at these, I don't buy cards all the time, so I'm not like up on these card prices. I was expecting at least a 1 in front of that 26. You know, so at this number, this is why I said this, Dan, earlier. I'm like, at this number, I could get,
It
you know,
makes a
looking
lot
at
of
the
sense.
16 gigabytes is 26 too. So I could get 32. I could get
How
a
much
32
64?
gigabyte card, you know, like 5 of them, and be good for the whole trip, and not repeat a card. Just keep recording, you know, treat them like film essentially. Like, I mean, isn't this ridiculous? And
Yeah,
ridiculous.
because a few years ago for the 600, those were the cards I bought, something similar to that. Not quite as fast, but you know, the SD cards, and I got like 12 8 gig cards for maybe $19 a piece, $20 a piece.
Ah, that's
You know,
crazy.
so now
Yeah.
look at it.
And look at the 64 gigabyte, you know, just under $50 for 64 gigs. That's the one Don Komarechka would buy.
Yeah, the D3 still has the compact flash, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
tell you, if there was 512 gig cards available when I made my last purchase, I would have bought one of them.
Really? See, that's interesting.
It's coming.
So I'm somewhat on the side of Dan. You know, about the limit for me of comfort is around 3264. So 64 is kind of I feel like, okay, that's a lot of data to have on one little piece that if it goes away, it's in, you know, and it becomes unrecoverable, or especially these things are like, you know,
They're
slightly
small.
larger than a postage stamp, you know. So I somewhat subscribe to that all your eggs in one basket, but not down to the 4 and 8 gigabyte level. I'm more at the 3264 level, especially if you're shooting video and doing all that kind of stuff. So, but the point
There,
is,
you balance this
you
out,
can do
Frederick.
it.
It's perfect.
Right, you can do it now for relatively cheap. I mean, it's it's crazy.
unbelievable.
I'm wondering, since, you know, since SanDisk got acquired by a much larger company, will these prices drop even further now? You know, it could happen.
Well, if they want to stay competitive, and if Western Digital has the muscle, if they have the capital to drop those costs to put pressure on the competitors, then you could have equal quality product for a cheaper price, or a better product for the same price. If they really want to revolutionize, I mean, Sony's done this when they entered into the camera market seriously with their mirrorless stuff, and they have made huge waves. So that it's not unprecedented that a company can just jump in and reinvent things.
Yeah, it's that's really cool. Thanks for bringing that story to my attention, man. That's crazy. Like I said, I'm in literally these cards that I showed on the screen. They're in my shopping basket on Amazon.
Make sure you have enough of them.
Yeah, I need more. Yeah, I already have a 64 gig. I
Yeah.
need more difference. But yeah, I know I'm going to be shooting video the entire time, obviously, but I'm going to shoot a fair amount while I'm there. So I don't get into a situation where I can't do a certain thing. You know,
I've been in a situation once where at the time I had, I think, a 32 and a 16 gig memory card. This is many years ago, and I was trying to record video of an event, and this guy, I was trying to do this interview, and I was just, you know, I was the cameraman, and I'm looking at the memory card just getting filled up and filled up and filled up, and these guys are still talking. It's guys, wrap it up. You know, we're running out of space here. I got nothing else to fill this with. So, yeah, those problems, I think those problems are gone. We'll never be in that scenario ever again.
Yeah.
But,
well, you know,
especially at the cost of memory.
there's a different issue if you have a memory card that is not to the speed that you're writing to it. Like with Panasonic cameras, I'm not sure what other cameras do, but at least with Panasonic cameras, they don't tell you. They just stop. They just stop. You're like, oh, can't record anymore. All done. And you can still, like Don, in your situation, you're still yakking and talking, and you know, and you're not recording anything, which is bad. Which is why, I mean, that lesson, I got taught that lesson once or twice. And after that, it's like, okay, I'm buying the fastest, bestest video card I can possibly get to put in my camera because I can't afford to be embarrassed anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, and the same goes for photo, and that's why I think, you know, your camera that's 20 megapixels traveling, that's perfect size. The D600 when I went a few years ago was 24 megapixels. I was thinking about bringing the 800 at the time, which is now the 810, but at 36 megapixels, the write speeds are much slower. It takes up that much more room, and I'm not printing, you know, 60, 90-inch images. So, and I don't plan on cropping too much either. So, you know, that's something to be considered too. Is how big do they need to be, and counter that with the speed of the card and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, like I was saying, I don't buy these cards are great, right? Like Don was saying, I can't remember last time I had a card fail, but at the same time, I want to refresh them from time to time because I don't want to get to the point of failure before I replace them. But when you go and you look at these cards, I'm like, I approach it from the standpoint of almost like a lens, right? It's like you don't skimp on your lens. You know, this disc or this card is the fundamental reason why you are taking a photo. It's getting recorded to this and nowhere else. So why not get the best of the best, especially if they're made so well, it's gonna last you forever almost. So Don, so you seem to know about a lot about these cars. So SanDisk versus, let's say, a Lexar. Like, what do you think? Who's better?
Oh, that's a Canon versus Nikon discussion. I mean, I don't think anybody ends up as a winner. I mean, it all depends on reliability in this particular case. And I think that they both are well beyond the bar that a professional photographer or an amateur or anybody that cares about their images would care to buy into. You know, that I think that if you go to, I don't even remember the names of the off-brand stuff, but I mean, if you take any random memory card that doesn't have either of those two names associated with it, you type that into Google and type problem or type failure or type anything like that, and you will probably find that somebody has had that particular brand of card die. That might be still true of Lexar and SanDisk, but to a much lesser degree. So you are putting trust in them. I think that either company produces exactly the same product, very, very fast. I think Lexar just announced some even faster cards recently, and it's always a cat and mouse game. So when more cameras are out there shooting 4K video with less and less compression because the cards can hold them together, then yeah, I would not choose one or the other. I have made a sort of a brand loyalty decision to buy SanDisk cards, but I'm not even sure why.
I like the colors. I like black and red.
You know what? Black and red, those are nice colors, and so better than black and gold, I guess. So you know, if that's what it comes down to, it comes down to branding, and I don't want to hurt one of those brands over another when
they're both fantastic. Yeah, I agree. But literally, I'm you know, being flippant, of course, but SanDisk. I think the reason why I'm with SanDisk or why I use SanDisk cards is because, like you said, that's what I've been using, and why not stick with something that's already been working? If you're with Lexar, why not stay with Lexar? You know?
Yeah, and I wanted to show you this. This is the micro SD, which I did buy huge for this Samsung because it's under the battery and it's in there. And this particular one, I don't want to be changing because it's
because you let that thing be spring loaded and fly across the room.
Yeah, so that's a 32 gig SD card in there, and I never changed that one.
Isn't that crazy though? Something, I mean, that's literally smaller or around the same size as your pinky fingernail, and it's got 32 gigabytes of data on it.
Somewhere in my closet, I have a compact flash card that is 4 megabytes in size.
Oh yeah.
And I dig that out as a comparison to students. It's like, look at how far we've come in such a short period of time.
Yeah. When probably my third job out of college, I worked for a computer dealership. Selling, if you guys remember the Amiga video toaster.
I remember Video Toaster.
Yeah. If you have those old magazines, you could find me in there as Dr. Toaster. I used to write a column in there. Yeah.
Oh man, I was too young. I lusted after getting one of those machines. You know, an Amiga. I think we ended up getting.
I got two in the garage. So.
Yeah. There's more power in my phone these days, I think.
The thing is, we had the state of Illinois buy 2 machines at like $5,000 each. And they bought 4 gigabyte drives for $3,000 each.
Oh my God.
A 4 gig drive was $3,000.
Yeah.
But, Dan, a quick sidebar. I was talking to Tim Jennison the other day. That name will be very familiar to you because he is the inventor of the video toaster.
Sure is.
And he participated in a documentary recently that is narrated and produced by Penn and Teller.
Sure.
And this is called Tim's Vermeer. And I don't know if I've mentioned it on this podcast.
I've seen it. Yeah, they're longtime friends. Yeah.
Yeah. And so anybody listening to this, you should absolutely go out and check out Tim's Vermeer. It is a wonderful. It's not necessarily my pick, but you brought it up. And it shows how the Dutch painter Johannes Vermeer, about 350 years ago, basically turned himself into a photocopier. And it's really cool. Check that out.
It's a really good documentary. And Don, I actually thought about you when I was watching that because the attention to detail that they went through, that he went to recreate that painting or that painting style, was reminiscent of you.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, Frederick. I contacted Tim. He sent me replicas of the optics in the mirrors that he used in the film. They're in my closet right now. I am going I am going to be taking some of my photographs and making photorealistic oil paintings of them using exactly those techniques. I'm going to start with some simpler stuff, but I'm going to be doing snowflakes and some crazy stuff. I have no idea if I'll be successful, but it's going to be a grand
You
experiment
need to
this winter.
record this. You need to
Yeah.
record this
I
process
need to have like a
somehow.
little camera kind of above
Yeah.
me that's just constantly doing a time lapse thing of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. That's cool. I'm gonna go rewatch that now. I feel like I'm re-inspired to see it again. Very cool. All right, guys, let's take another quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about CNET getting their hands on the newest LensBaby lenses, and we're gonna share our thoughts and their thoughts on the new hardware. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we are back for story number 3, and this is about the LensBaby Composer Pro 2 and Edge 50. So let me read this little blurb that we have in the notes here. LensBaby ups its game with a higher quality set of metal lens mounts and optics towards the goal of creating a new class of lenses for creative effects that includes the Edge 80 optic and the Velvet 56 lens. The Composer Pro 2 improves on the original Composer Pro with a better feel and build quality, while the Edge 50 optic brings the same slice of focus approach to the 50mm that the Edge 80 did for 80mm. So the pair costs of $425. Although if you already have a Composer, you'll still be able to use the Edge 50 and the CP2. They should work with many of your older optics. So it's interesting. So there's 2 things I wanted to tackle with this. Don, I'm going to start with you because you're the macro guy of the family, and you're our lens baby. So when you these kinds of lenses, considering the kind of work you do with the close-up of the snowflakes, almost at the DNA level, do these appeal to you, or would you rather do this kind of thing in post?
Well, okay, so there's some things that you can't do in post. Like if you want to have, like if you have a light source that's out of focus, you'll have a beautiful bokeh around it, and you can't replicate that by blurring things in post. I mean, it would be always best to do that in camera. Now, what this amounts to with this new system is it's basically a tilt shift lens, more accurate with that Edge 50 by the sounds of it, again on paper, as you would get from a dedicated tilt shift lens from Canon or Nikon or anybody else that manufactures them. And so those lenses are not cheap. They are more expensive than this by a large margin. And because this system is flexible for creativity, I think that in the digital era we rely too much on doing things in post. And I do so much in post-processing. I would rather have some fun and creativity in camera. Part of that because you don't know what happy accidents you're going to stumble across, what things you're going to do that just become inventive, and then you're going to think, well, what if I do this? What if I try this? That are far more intuitive in your own brain and with the stuff in front of you than you would have as buttons in Photoshop. So I'm a huge believer in sort of the LensBaby system, even though I don't own one myself, because I've got a lot of lenses that cover the same range of the stuff that they would do. But if you're looking for an all-in-one experimental tool, man, the LensBaby is a great option.
Yeah, and I wonder, Don, both of you guys, Don and Dan, I want to have you chime in on this, but the whole idea of, yes, it's great, and I hear what you're saying, that spontaneity and exploration and, that you get when you're using a system like this. But I wonder, on the devil's advocate side, if you're doing a shot and you're like, okay, this is great, but there's too much vignetting over here, or her eyes are out of focus, there's something to be said about being able to do that in post, right? So
those are not questions that you should be asking when you're using this kind of equipment. And I'll let Dan carry on from there.
Yeah. Well, I actually do have one of these. I've got one of the original ones. And, what I found with it, on one hand, this thing keeps falling on. On one hand, it's, you think, oh, I could do that in post. But what happens when you put one of these on is it takes me back to photography school, where you just spend time in the camera and just viewing and looking and trying to see things in different ways. So let's say you're on a cruise and on a ship and you're there in one spot and you're just taking pictures. Eventually, there's not a whole lot more to take pictures of. You're just kind of like taking the same thing. You put one of these on, you're seeing things differently, completely differently. And it just kind of opens up this exploration side of photography where like, oh, what if I tried it like this? What if I tilted this way? Because I don't know if a lot of people know how these work. When you put them on, and I think they all vary a little bit, but you can push and pull. Like Don said, like a tilt shift.
Mhm.
But you do it more freeform. You know, it's not, you don't have to worry about the measurements and dials and things. And it just teaches you to see differently than you would if you were doing it in post-production. Now, for me, a combination of both of those, I think, is really the, you know, best way to go.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a little pricey though, so you really have to be a enthusiast, a photography buff that just needs to get creative. You know,
And that's what I was thinking. That was the other piece. Thanks for bringing that up, because I was just thinking these look great, and every time I see these, I'm like, oh man, I got to get that because I want to play with that. I could do some
Right.
cool stuff with that. And then I think, what, almost $500 to get in there, and I think of the other normal lenses I could buy for $500, and then my brain. This is just how my brain works. My brain thinks, okay, you could go get this other lens, or add some money to it and get, you know, a traditional lens for that money, and do that stuff in post if you wanted to, and still have a lens that you could use for portraits and all this other stuff without having the LensBaby effect on it. I don't know. I mean, is
you
that
can achieve it in post. Here's the thing: you can achieve that exact same look in post, but you're not going to see it. You know, when you're in the camera, you're looking at it. That's when
you're creating art.
You're not
going to
know that that's what you're after.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
When you're in the camera, you don't know what you're going after until you see it with the LensBaby. So.
So you said, so Dan, you own this lens, right, or a lens?
I own one of the originals.
So how often do you use it? I was gonna say, because I own one of the originals too.
Just moving around on my desk.
And I haven't, and I don't want to. I don't want to, you know.
And I don't either. They're terrific.
Awesome, and I love what they're doing for the industry, and I love any kind of innovation that happens for photographers. But that first lens, when I got it, you know, I was excited, and I used it a couple times. And I think I got it because of Nicole's. Because Nicole Young was like hot and heavy on LensBaby, and she probably still is to some degree, but she was really doing a lot of LensBaby stuff. I'm like, hey, you know, good enough for Nicole, good enough for me, and I got one.
The last 7-8 years, my photography was all professional, and now that we've moved out of that, and I'm just doing it more for a few shoots here and there, but I'm speaking and teaching and doing it more for fun, I'm getting back into it. So I would bring that with me on vacations. Because that's when you're doing, you know, street photography. That's when you're doing more of that fun experimental stuff. You know, unless you really, really got a grasp of how to use that thing and exactly what you want, you're not going to get that exact shot.
I think your dogs are disagreeing with you.
Yeah, somebody keep in. Go ahead and go to him. I'll mute. Sorry.
Your dogs are like, he's not telling the truth. No. We love LensBaby.
So it's not something you want to bring on a commercial shoot unless you really know exactly what you're doing. So.
Yeah, I agree. You wouldn't bring this, you know, if you're shooting a wedding or doing portraiture or product photography. It doesn't really have a place in most professional workflows. And if you're a landscape photographer, then typically you're not going after this particular motif, right? But if you are experimenting, if you're doing street photography, if you're going out on a photo walk, if you're just trying to do something inventive for your own exploration of photography, this makes a lot of sense. The same sense that having an infrared camera might make, because you're experimenting in things that you can't see normally with your regular camera or through your own eyes. And the more you experiment with this kind of photography, I think it just adds up a bunch of sort of creative puzzle pieces behind the scenes that in the back of your head, you're just gaining a little bit of extra knowledge as to how these lines should connect together through the frame, and how all of the rules of composition apply differently when you can selectively blur things that are actually very close to you that you shouldn't be able to do. And as soon as you can kind of connect those dots together, then that makes you a better photographer. Now, if you put yourself in the position to do that, then that's great. But most photographers don't force themselves into this learning mode, right? And so you have to have the mindset in order to take advantage of it. Now, you mentioned the price too. This is like $429 or so, $425. So I mean, that's a big chunk of change. But this is for the newest version of that has a metal lens mount, and I'm sure you can dial back the clock and buy some used stuff or the older version that is probably still available at a cheaper price. And if you are trying to put yourself into that learning mode and experiment, then you don't need to spend this amount of money in order to do those experiments. But the latest and the greatest, it's there for those that want it. Maybe they've done the experiments and they found a place in their camera bag for this particular gear. Right now, on the offset, most photographers don't know where this fits into their workflow. And that makes sense because they haven't explored it yet.
You're right. Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good way to think about it. It's a specialty lens. This is not a lens that will be in my bag all the time. This is a lens that I will, like you're saying, hey, I'm going out on a photo walk and I want to get some interesting shots of doorknobs with weird, bokeh around them. So I, I grab this lens and take it with me. Or I'm going on a model shoot and I know that I want to do some interesting shots with this particular set that we have going on. So I'd grab this lens, but it's not going to be an everyday lens that I pull out to capture spur of the moment.
But you also think about just having a camera with this on. You just pick it up, a couple extra shots, and then they're not dealing with two lenses and
my little baby camera.
Got the little baby camera with that, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
It teaches you to see. That's what photography school was for me when I went to study photojournalism. It was all about teaching you to see. The gear and all that stuff was just fun. That was fun stuff. It was all just learning to see, and that's where he would send us out back in the film days. And here's 24 shots. Shoot 3 rolls of 24 or 36 of that.
Yes, yeah, we got the same thing. Those are the good old days, man.
Yeah. So
I love that restriction. It's all gone now.
Yeah. And the LensBaby will let you do that. That's what's kind of cool about it.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to look at it again because as I go through the site and looking at it, it's like, wow, those are some awesome shots that they have on there. And this thing, they've got mounts for Canon, Nikon, Fuji, Micro Four Thirds, Pentax, Sony Alpha E, Sony Alpha A, and Samsung NX. And here, so chances are it will fit your camera if you want to get it.
That's what I have.
How about that? Interesting. Oh, see, you guys are spending my money. All right. Let's take another break, guys. When we come back, we're going to take a question from one of our listeners. All right, we're back. It's time for some listener Q&A. This week's question is from Darren Wadden, and Darren wants to know, well, basically, he's got a long question here, but basically he wants to know why we don't talk about On One as an alternative to Aperture, Apple's Photos, or Lightroom. So, Dan Ablin, what do you think about this? So, first of all, I want to, before you answer, On One software is insanely great. They make some really good, well-crafted, attention to detail software. So yeah, I don't know why we don't talk about them as an alternative.
I agree. Why don't we?
Yeah, I think the main reason is because it's not. We don't. When I look at On One, I think I don't know, for better or for worse, I think plug-in. I don't think processing engine. I think plug-in for something else, not as the main thing, which is erroneous, right? So, Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the actually kind of the same thing because I think that's how it started.
Yeah.
And I know I have the full suite, and I get in there and I play with it with a couple of shots, and I used it on some Italy shots, and then I kind of forget about it. But it can be a full suite, and so we have no. So tell our listener we have no excuse. Let's make a show.
We have no excuse. I know Nicole Young is going to be doing some stuff. I believe she said she's going to be doing some stuff, some training or something on her site with On One. But yeah. I know if they haven't come out with their latest version, it's imminent. So I'm definitely going to dive in and play with it. Darren, thank you for that question because it has sparked me to go and dive in. Because I think the world right now, Don, I want to have you chime in on this. The world right now, in a lot of ways, is looking for alternatives, right? Because you have Apple Photos. A lot of people say it's too consumery, and you have Lightroom, which you have to be part of the Creative Cloud to get, and Aperture's gone, and on and on and on.
Yeah, so, I really want there to be competition for Lightroom right now because if there's no competition, there's no reason to innovate. There's no reason to put the R&D into making it better for all photographers. I don't think that I would change my workflow, though. Right now, I am dealing with Lightroom and Photoshop primarily, and I use On One when I know they can do a better job on certain things. Like I use their perfect resize when I'm doing scaling for printing and all of this kind of stuff. Okay. And they have some great bits and pieces in there. And so I think that it's a completely different environment. It's an environment that if you have a foundation of Lightroom and Photoshop, you can easily add On One into that environment, but it would not be your exclusive tool set, right? It's going to be in addition to whatever else that you're also using, and I'm sure that it can run independently. I'm not debating that at all, but I think that a lot of other photographers, when they're looking to organize their work, when they are it's powerful, but it's not necessarily as flexible as all of the nitty-gritty under-the-hood stuff you can do in Photoshop, right?
Yeah.
So you can maybe accomplish very similar stuff, but if you want to tweak it to the degree that you can in Photoshop, well then, Photoshop is your tool for that. So
Yeah.
I think it fits very, very nicely. There's a nice synergy between it and the other tools available, which doesn't help competition either, because it is in addition to, not in competition with. And I think that, everybody should be using more than just Photoshop and Lightroom. And on one, Nik software, there's lots of them out there, accomplish much the same goals and help us stay creative, really.
Yeah. No, I love it. But look, for me, I'm a geek's geek, right? So I'm always trying out new things. I want to play with new software and see how it's how they tackle a particular set of problems and what new powers it gives me as a photographer. But when you boil it down to the salts, I mean, I've been using Photoshop since version 2, so I'm familiar with Photoshop. I can make that thing moonwalk and break dance and do the nay, all that stuff. If I want to, I can. Yeah. Photoshop and I go way back, so I'm comfortable in there. It's like an old pair of shoes.
Right.
So when you say, okay, there are all these other tools, it's like, okay, but these shoes fit me really, really well, and those shoes look great and are shiny and hip, but I don't know if it's going to fit me as well. So even though they may be better, the curmudgeon and the old man in me is like, let me go back to my old tool, because it just works for me. Dan, are you the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many tools I've downloaded. Photoshop knockoffs or faster. I think Affinity Designer. It was so cool. Just came out of beta. Wow, this is great. I use it. I'm like, okay, well, I got a job. Let me go back into Photoshop. And that's nothing against the software. It's just that comfort level. You're hitting keyboards equivalents without even thinking about it, things like that. But
it's like your girlfriend when you always go back to your wife, right?
And, I'm gonna leave that one alone. But one thing
he's sweating. Look at the sweat coming.
19 years. I'm not even worried about that. But one thing I just looked about, I was just thinking about. I'm like Matt Kloskowski from Scott Kelby, if you remember, Matt. Yeah. He left there a year or two ago. He's VP of photography for On One.
I know. Yeah.
So I mean, software's a big deal. So
and Matt, I trust Matt, and anything that Matt ties his name to has got to be pretty dang good. Right? So especially if he ties his name and the well-being of his family to it, that says a whole lot.
Group to do it. So Matt, we're gonna get on board with this, and we'll do some more coverage, I think.
Yeah. So the listener, who's a listener, Darren Wadden, thank you for lighting the fire. I think the TWiP crew is now going to dive into software like On One, specifically On One, and look at them, and probably some others as well. And then we'll report back to you what our findings are. I think I need to take those old shoes off and try on some new shoes.
And see how that goes. Real quick, you're talking about Lightroom, Aperture, which I don't know if people still even use.
Yeah.
What's the other one that all the medium format cameras use?
Capture One.
Capture One. Mm-hmm. We should maybe be doing more of that, because you can certainly use Capture One with our cameras. People just think, oh, well, that's for our big Mamiya digital bags. We don't use it
anymore.
No, you can still use it. So
I've heard really good things about Capture One's raw processing engine, and the people that use it tell me that it runs rings around Lightroom and Photoshop's raw processing engine. Now, I haven't seen it.
And I picked up the DxO Optics Pro 10 pack the other day when it was on sale from B&H, because it has a really, really good noise reduction feature in there, the prime noise reduction. So, I mean, all of these different bits and pieces come together to develop into what amounts to our full workflow.
See, that's the problem, though. See, all these bits and pieces are great, but for me, it's I'm a path of least resistance kind of guy. I just want to get in, do my stuff, and get out. I don't want to have to say, okay, that's what we were doing in the old days. Remember, it was like, okay, we need this piece to do that, and then you get this, and then this hardware you need. Remember, plug your printer in and use this SCSI adapter and a terminator on there, and all this stuff just to do simple things. I don't want to go back to the world of
Well,
having to Frankenstein something together in order to get my workflow to work.
sure, but I mean, I'm path of resistance for sure, but I'm also a path to perfection. You know, like I don't care if I have to go through a maze to get the absolute best possible results for certain things, not for everything, but for certain things, and I'm willing to go down that maze and put all of those pieces together to make it happen.
Can it be
but for the
perfection
majority of my work,
and least resistance? I want both.
Yeah,
you know what? We don't have it yet. I wish we did.
Well, you know, there's you know, I can't live doing any portraits without imagenomic portraiture.
Oh yeah, I love that.
It's just a staple. And when I've reformatted my system and I re-download Photoshop and I go to edit, I'm like, where? Oh, that's right, it's a plugin. I mean, that's how much I rely on it as part of Photoshop. So you will, you know, I think that's the important thing about trying out all these tools is that they will become part of your workflow once you realize how good they are, the noise reduction of DxO or imagenomic portraiture, and it's just a staple with your regular workflow.
I know, yeah. Like you talk about technology, and I remember before I discovered imagenomics portraiture plugin, there was this recipe of steps that I would go through to retouch a photo. You know, channels and noise, add noise, and this, and you know, difference and median and all this crap in order to get to a point where you can get to automatically out of the box just by running the plugin with this software. So it's, you know, it's yeah, again, path of least resistance. I think my laziness is shown.
It's age.
Or age, or maybe it's smart, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cool stuff, guys. Lots of really good conversation today. Listeners, if you have a question you'd like us to tackle on the show, just visit us at thisweekinphoto.com and click on that Submit a Question link and send us a question or leave us a voice message. All right, we're almost at the end of the show. Let's real quickly dive into our picks of the week. Remember, guys, you can pick anything to recommend to the TWiP listeners as long as it is somehow related to photography. Dan Ablin, I'm going to let you go first. What is your pick?
I had a couple in there. One of them was just because I was thinking about it, and some of our finest portraits we've done were with some lighting and some backdrops from Seamless Photo from Port DC. So I just want to give him a shout out because he makes great stuff. But this other thing, which is actually really interesting, there's a link I put in there. It's called themomentsblog.com. And he took a 1 second, they're essentially Flixels, but I don't think he used Flixel. I believe he said it's a custom camera. If you read the about, The Moments is a blog of photos from a custom-built camera. Each photo is a moving portrait of someone, a moment that is under a second of actual time. The photo is an expansion of that time. The idea is to show more than a still photo, how it can represent more than just a single moment. So check that out. It's just something cool. You know, nothing to buy, nothing to show. Just
I love those.
It's just you know, there's so much imagery out there and so much content. It's nice to see something kind of new and refreshing. Yeah. And then my last one, which I didn't actually put on the list, I just got a copy of, and I don't know if you talked about this in previous shows, Chris Orwig's new book, The Creative Fight: Create Your Best Work and Live the Life You Imagine.
We should get Chris on to talk about that.
Yeah, great book from my publisher, Peachbit. So check that out. Chris Orwig, just punch it in Amazon, and that book will come up. It's a great book.
Very cool. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Very good pick of the week. All right, Don Komarechka, what about you? What's your pick of the week?
All right. Can you still hear me, by the way? Because I loaded up that website and it kind of crashed me a little bit here.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect. So my pick of the week is actually a publication that I've been writing for probably about half a decade now, but I don't think I've ever really mentioned it on the show, and that's Outdoor Photography Canada magazine. And OPC is, it's a quarterly publication. It's got some great content in it. Not many people are buying magazines these days, but Outdoor Photography Canada is thriving in this economy. They're doing very well, and I write their beginner basics column in every issue. And so the last one that I had wrote about was all about, filters, why you need them, what they're for, and that kind of stuff. From the crazy mind that I have for that kind of stuff distilled down to what a beginner can enjoy. And so it's a really fun read through that magazine. It covers a lot of really cool content. Yes, it's Outdoor Photography Canada, but sure, that applies to any outdoor photography area of the world. And they, of course, have subscriptions that will go pretty much anywhere. They actually gave me permission, if I I can to say that if you use a discount code TWiP on checkout, you'll get, I think it's
Oh, we lost him.
Oh, no. He went back to the website. It went down.
That's amazing. You better get
That's
back in
a
here.
tease right there.
Oh man, what a tease! If you use the offer code TWiP on the
won't
website,
go.
you get. That's unprecedented timing. Thanks,
Oh my
Google. We
gosh.
appreciate that. All right. Well, maybe Don will show back up in here. If he doesn't, we'll put that link in the show notes for this episode. That is crazy that he got cut off right at that second. All right. While we're waiting on him to rejoin, hopefully he'll rejoin. I will talk about my pick of the week, and that's this new guy that I just got today. This, let's see if I can lock it on me so I can just lock the camera here on me. Okay. So this is the Panasonic Lumix Gx8. This is their new, I guess, kind of semi-flagship. The GH4 obviously is the flagship camera in the Lumix line, and this one does a lot of things that the GH4 doesn't even do, including in-body image stabilization, as well as if you have a lens that's image stabilized, it will use simultaneously to stabilize the image beyond anything that's on the market today. So it's got that. It's got the what I demand, this articulated LCD, so I get that in there. And it's just kind of a really good weather-sealed, good-feeling camera. So it's a Panasonic Lumix Gx8. I just picked it up from Amazon. It was around $1,100 for the body only, so it's not cheap. But it, it's. I think this camera will be my daily driver for the next couple of years or so. So that's my pick of the week. Don Komarechka, you got cut off, man.
I did.
You said you convinced them to give us a TWiP discount, and then you left.
Oh, well, see, I thought something was up within crashing here and all that. So yeah, the TWiP discount code is TWiP, simply TWiP. And so check that out. And
what do we get? What's the amount?
Oh, it's 20% off any subscription within North America for 1 or 2 year subscriptions. And I don't think it's set up yet because I was just talking to the editor moments before the show went on. But it will be by the time that this airs later in the week after we record it. So
okay.
I think that you guys should all take a look at it. If you've given up on magazines, give it one more chance. You get a lot of good content in there.
I will. I think I have a subscription to that already. I think thanks to you, and it is a beautiful magazine, and I look forward to it. So I think it's this. The two magazines that I get that I'll confess to are Outdoor Photography Canada and Rangefinder. Those are the two magazines that come to my house that are photography related. So yeah, thanks for doing that, and thanks for that discount. That's awesome. 20%, huh? All right, guys. We are at the end of another episode of TWiP. This is episode 436 in the can. I want to thank our sponsors for their support of this episode. And that includes Backblaze, FreshBooks, Audible, and iFi. Guys, before we end the show completely, Dan, where would you like the TWiP listeners to go to connect with you?
Believe it or not, finally got the website back together, so they can go straight to danablan.com.
Perfect. All right, Don Komarechka, what about you?
I want to plug something coming up very soon. It's November 7th. It's a day-long presentation that I have. It's a whole seminar in Sarnia, Ontario, which is in southern Ontario. It is it's right on the border with the U.S. So if you live in northeastern United States, then come on, check this out. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's only $50 to sit in on this seminar, and so it's November 7th, and I'll put a link in the show notes. But you'll find that through the Sarnia Photographic Club. They're hosting me there for a whole day of a lot of fun. There will be propeller hat moments. There will be editing workflow. There will be professional. How the heck do I make a career out of what I do? And a lot about how we see the world and the psychology and the science and everything wrapped into that. It's going to be a great day.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, definitely put that link in the show notes so that we can we'll put it in the blog post and all that. Wonderful. Very cool. Exciting and expensive show. I still have that LensBaby page up to go look at later. I may hopefully I won't pull the trigger, but I have a feeling I might. All right, guys. Thanks again, listeners, for listening to this episode. Remember, also check out our website at thisweekinphoto.com. Follow us at thisweekinphoto on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. And with that, it is time to take that lens cap Off.